All right, thanks, Bosco.
Yep.
Welcome to the FCADC Studio 1900 for another edition of Mike on the Mic. I am Mike Ross, and you are not, and I, along with our producer, David Mackley, a.k.a. Bosco, interview local movers, shakers, and policymakers about issues that matter to all of us, or at least some of us, and you should know, nothing is off limits. You're actually going to learn something today that hopefully can help you individually or with your business as we wind down 2025 and get ready for 2026. Because but before we meet today's guest, I was going to tell you about our sponsor, but we don't have one.
Another shameless plug for a sponsor.
Well, so if you would like to be a sponsor of the FCADC, Ben,
Which they are, that's why.
Yeah, they are. That's true. No, you guys have been great supporters of FCADC, and we're going to talk about that. But if you're interested in being a sponsor of Mike on the Mic, please contact our office at 717-263-8282 or email David at fcadc.com or me, Mike at fcadc.com, and we'd be happy to talk to you about sponsorship opportunities. So with that,
We have had some interest.
we have had some interest, and we appreciate that interest.
Yes.
We'll be happier when that interest converts to actual sponsorship. So anyway, enough of that. We enjoy doing this podcast with or without sponsors, to be very candid. But today, as I mentioned, you're going to learn something. And we have with us today Ben Bostic of Boyer and Ritter CPAs and what was it, CPAs and consultants. I want to make sure we get that right. And Ben's a principal with Boyer and Ritter. And Boyer and Ritter, to be in the context of full disclosure, has been a big supporter of FCADC, and we appreciate that support. So thank you. But what we're going to do, what we want to talk about, there's a lot going on in the news about the everything from the big beautiful bill, which we'll get to, and preparing for 2026. But just to get this started, but first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
So,
Being here.
no, well, we appreciate you taking the time to be here, and we're going to put you on the spot hopefully a couple times today. So,
In a good way,
yeah,
Ben.
in a good way.
You can breathe. man.
But I'm going to just jump right into this. What's new on the tax front?
The good news is that there's not a whole lot new. What many people didn't understand, and I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but we were heading towards a cliff. We were about to pretty much lose gift and estate tax exemptions. All the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act provisions were about to expire. And we were going to see tax rates increase, exemptions decrease. So really the main thing with the One Big Beautiful Bill was that it basically put all those things in place permanently. But it also did some other things. We were losing bonus depreciation, which just allows you to expense any equipment you purchased. That's reinstated back to 100%. It was going to be 40% this year. It made some changes to the R&D credit to incentivize manufacturing in the United States and created some other opportunities there. They did take away a lot of the clean energy credits. That's just not the shift of the current administration. And then, sort of on the personal level, the part that got headlines was, no tax on tips and overtime. They changed, there's a $10,000 SALT cap, which isn't a huge problem for Pennsylvania.
For the listeners, SALT.
SALT is your state and local taxes. So New York, California, where they have high real estate taxes, state income taxes, they were limited to only deducting $10,000. That was increased to $40,000 this year. So there's going to be a lot more people that can itemize that are, of higher income, but there's still a pretty high standard exemption for anybody who's not, on the personal level.
So to that point, are there? So we the Big Beautiful Bill essentially codified the what were temporary cuts in the tax, and now they're permanent. Is there
Exactly.
anything in 2026 beyond that folks should be aware of, be it individually or with their business? Is there anything go ahead.
There's a lot of things. I had mentioned about the bonus depreciation, so really people should be working with their CPAs or some other advisor towards the end of the year to see whether it makes any sense to make an investment in some equipment that they can write off. I had mentioned the R&D
You know what
expense.
they said on Seinfeld. You ever watch Seinfeld?
I have.
When Jerry says to Kramer,
The post office broke his
he said,
jam box,
"You don't even know what a write-off is." He said, "No, but they do."
and they're the ones writing it off. He said.
So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, I apologize for interrupting you there.
No, the businesses that are in manufacturing, construction, the R&D credits are a lot more attractive. Typically tax laws are put in place to incentivize businesses to do something or to not do something. So they're trying to bring manufacturing back into the United States. Typically, your R&D expenses can qualify for a credit. The previous rule was you had to amortize all your R&D expenses over 15 years. So even though you spent $1 million, you had to take that over 15 years to get a credit. Now you can expense it and get the credit. So it makes a lot more sense for manufacturing and construction.
But one of the things, your message is for those businesses and so on, you really need to be sitting down with your accountant or financial advisor as we come to the end of the year to really have a good understanding of what you want to do now and what you may want to delay until 2026, or things you may have planned for 2026 may be better to take advantage of that in 2025, correct?
Exactly. It really does make a big difference to work with someone just to make sure you're not, for most people, they're just worried they're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
But, you might be missing a lot more than you think.
Right.
And especially for business owners, there's some opportunities out there that they can really take
And candidly, a lot of business owners, and I'm going to generalize here, but a lot of business owners are subject experts in what they do in terms of if they're a manufacturer, they understand the process of manufacturing, or if they're running a service business, they understand it. But most folks are not experts in taxes and investments and the like, and how best to take advantage of that. And I think it's important that they find somebody who can advise them to make sure they're not thinking that, well, I know a little bit about this. Well, sometimes you can sit down with the expert who knows a lot more about it that can help, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of times where I'm meeting with clients, and it's not always common sense as to the right answer. Sometimes it's we're trying to think about the questions they're not asking,
Right.
and really thinking about 2 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So they may want to go do something this year, but there are consequences to that in the future.
Well, speaking of talking to somebody, before we go into some of the other things that are taking
Let's
place.
back up.
Tell us a little bit about Boyer and Ritter.
So Boyer Ritter,
When were you guys established?
Technically 1926 is when Wilson Ritter started his firm. Lee Boyer started in 1933, and the two of them came together in 1977. So Boyer and Ritter's been a name since 1977, but we can trace it back
But
further.
where's the initial headquarters?
Camp Hill.
Camp Hill?
Yep. And then Chambersburg, we purchased Ken Schumann's firm back in 1990. So we've had an office here in Chambersburg since 1990.
It's 1990. Okay, that's good. So so overall, what's your regional footprint? Because you guys serve South Central Pennsylvania, maybe all of Central Pennsylvania.
Right. We have smaller offices in Chambersburg and State College, and our largest office is out at Camp Hill. But we're really servicing all of Pennsylvania, and as you know, down here in Chambersburg, we have a lot of exposure into Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, just being right down 81.
So is there any specific area of expertise that I know you can work with companies, but I know you have folks that specialize with nonprofits, as an example.
Sure. So our firm operates within, I'll say, 8 different practice groups where we can specialize. We work with 400 car dealerships. I primarily focus in
A lot of car dealerships.
right. And I specialize in construction and small business. We have people that specialize in nonprofits, manufacturing, local government, school districts. So everybody's sort of specialized in their own niche. You know, it's too broad for everybody to do everything. So we're really focused in on, you know, the things that we're really good at.
Like, of the clients you can tell us about, like in the public sector, who's your biggest public sector client?
I'm not sure I'm supposed to share that.
Okay, they got to share it.
Yeah.
No,
But
well,
we
I know,
actually-
I know. At one point you did stuff for like with the city of Harrisburg and stuff.
Yeah, we do have some large cities.
Maybe do
You know, when we have 400 dealerships, you can start figuring out who might own 100 of them.
No, I don't want to get into the private.
Yeah.
Just public sector.
So we don't do any SEC work. So
Okay.
our largest public clients would
I'm
really,
just like talking municipalities
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
yeah, and like the Philadelphia Parking Authority and some other.
Okay.
Jeez.
Whoever,
That's a big group.
when you were in third grade.
Nope.
And they said, what do you want to do? Did you ever say, I want to own a parking garage?
It's probably lucrative.
Oh my, yes, it is. That's like that's the only guy that's got it figured out.
Low overhead
Yes.
and
But so you have a strong regional presence with offices here in Chambersburg, here in State College. But how many employees do you have overall?
It's total about 135. Or
35, okay.
we're hoping to be about 150 here in the next 3 years.
Okay.
So, you know, our Chambersburg office has grown 20% in the last year. So we're trying to grow.
That's great. So so when you're out recruiting, where are the hotbeds for recruitment?
So Pennsylvania is a very good exporter of talent.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It is. And
I'd
so
like to keep it here.
I can tell you that our Chambersburg office is pretty much fully Shippensburg recruits. Bloomsburg is probably our highest recruited college. But we're about 15 universities in Pennsylvania. And really, you know, I think most people can understand the people that want to go to school here, want to live here, want to grow a family here are the type of employees we're looking for, so they can stay grounded and rooted in our area.
So are you Pennsylvania born and raised?
I was born in my parents are both from Pennsylvania. I was born in Virginia, but I've been in Pennsylvania since I was 3. So
that-
close enough.
That counts.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up at?
Down in Waynesboro.
yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Is your dad Rob?
My dad is Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's good. You go to Shippensburg then?
I did.
That's great. No, I think, and we are. What this seems to folks in the accounting program at SHIP seem like they're heavily recruited by you guys and some of your competitors. But what I think is really one of the strongest programs that they have at the university. And so for any of our young people out there who are looking at future careers in accounting, you don't have to go very far. You can go to Shippensburg University, and you're going to be well served. So, in speaking of Chambersburg, and you guys have moved into a new location.
We sure did.
You guys, it's nice space.
No,
Why don't you tell us about where it is?
sure. It was kind of a great opportunity that Brandon Stauffer had purchased the Plasters building. I think it was around for 111 years. So get to be sort of in a historic
It's a great
landmark.
great makeover.
It is. It's a beautiful building. I think there's still some units available there if anybody's interested. But it's a great location,
You get a
and
reduction in rent if you get to
Yeah.
find them space.
you know, I think we could talk them into it.
So there you go.
But it really is our firm's, you know, commitment to modernizing our facilities and kind of stay rooted in the area. Our needs are evolving, our clients are evolving, so it's really our opportunity to sort of invest here. And we see a lot of growth in Pennsylvania and northern Maryland, and this is just a great area to do that from.
So you have how many employees? 135.
35.
How many of those are Chambersburg based?
About 15.
Okay, okay. We have obviously forged a relationship with William Ritter for a long time now, and and your folks are great to work with. I will say that, and they're fun people. So not only are they
That helps.
competent, but they're fun. So that is
Coming here, that helps.
yes, it does. But no, but the new space you're in, it's it said it's right on Lincoln Way East, the former Plasters location. You're now Orrstown financial investment is also.
Yep, they should be moved in by the end of the year.
Yeah, so that same building, but it's a really one of the impressive makeovers of what was older space that's been repurposed and reimagined, and so when you go see Boyer and Ritter, you'll be impressed by where you're sitting. So Ben, we talked a little bit about this, and we are we're winding down 2025, but and you touched on parts of it with the big beautiful bill. But is there anything more that businesses should be preparing for in 2026? Because again, now we've memorialized the tax cuts, what else do you see coming in 2026?
Well, there's going to be some changes, with the no tax on tips and overtime. They're going to have some
How does that work with the no tax on tips and overtime?
So the tips is the easier side. Generally, employers are supposed to be reporting their tips. It actually shows up on a different box on their W-2. So those people, if they're under a certain income threshold, they're gonna pick it up as income, but they're gonna have a deduction for it. So they won't pay any federal income tax.
Okay.
They'll still be subject to PA and local. The overtime's sort of the same deal, except the IRS says we're not going to make any changes to our forms this year, and you guys figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to, find some ways to capture that information, and maybe they put it in a box on the W-2 so that their employees can take advantage of that. They're updating some other things like 1099s. Typically, you have to give 1099 to someone you pay over $600. Starting in 2026, that's going to move up to $2,000.
Nice.
$600 really is not hard to spend,
No.
Yeah.
so they're trying to update that a little bit. That's been the same for a long time.
That'll make Judy happy here.
Well,
All we do is get W-9s.
I agree. So tell me about at either the state or federal level, what changes would you have not been made that you think should be made that would simplify the process?
The IRS's database is so outdated. We got to get to the point where most people should be able to just go to the IRS and be able to say, "Yep, that return looks right." I don't need, for most people, their tax returns are so simple.
Mm-hmm.
We really got to get to the point where it can just be all streamlined. We're using AI for everything else, so you might as well, get up to speed with that.
Do you see AI as the wave of the future for individuals doing tax returns?
We're already using it. Everybody is learning to do more with less. And
so how do you use AI in preparing returns or the like?
well, most of your government tax forms are all standardized. Mm-hmm. So we're using more and more AI to capture some of that data. And basically, we don't want to pay, a lot of our new hires have MBAs.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to hire them to key punch a bunch of numbers from one form into a tax return. We should be able to capture that data and have it flow. You're starting to see more automation on the auditing side where they're able to look at a large data set and be able to see what doesn't make sense. Even responding to emails and different things, you could think about how much time you spend responding to emails. We can use it to sort of sort out what's critical, draft something. You can't rely on it 100%, but you you can certainly use it to cut back on some of the time you spend, doing that. Even preparing for today, we have specific like tax AI where we're able to prompt it with some questions and it comes back with the authoritative information to give us an answer.
How do you ensure that when you're doing, if you're using AI to help you with some of your research or whatever, how do you ensure that what they're providing you is accurate?
Well, like on our tax side, we're using something that only has access to tax law to research it, and it provides you the citation. So you have that. It's a little bit different when you go to ChatGPT and you ask it a question. It's just going out to the internet and grabbing whatever information it sees, whether it's right or wrong. And even that's kind of been unique for us. We've historically provided, a lot of articles and different things like that based on our knowledge, but anybody that wants that information now just goes to Google and Googles it, and their first response is what AI has pulled out of other websites, and nobody actually goes to your website to see that information. So for us, it's really playing in that sandbox that's limited to where that information comes from, but we're able to use it for, responding to tax notices because we've already written to, 100 other ones. So really just trying to cut down our time doing the day-to-day things so we can spend more time in front of our clients.
Do you see the IRS or the Department of Revenue in Pennsylvania changing and incorporating more AI into the process of managing returns and so on?
It's hard to say. I think
Would you encourage them to do it?
It'd be nice to get a response from some people every once in a while.
I hear that all the time, that it's incredibly difficult to get. And the other thing that's always been to get an IRS response, but what's also been, I find fascinating, the fact that you get, if you have a question of the IRS and you rely on what they told you and you still get it wrong, you can't say, well, that's what you told me. You still got it wrong.
Yeah, I think they can probably triage a lot of the incoming information, using AI to answer a lot of the basic questions so that, the more complicated things can get to a person. For the most part, everything's you have to send the information to the IRS electronically. So it's all getting captured into a database. They're already, when we get tax notices, it says, here's what was reported to us, here's what you reported to us. And there's differences. And, most of the notices we do see are just because someone didn't provide us with something, but the IRS was provided with it, so they know that it should be there.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just, it's amazing to me. One of the frustrations as a taxpayer always is that the federal government establishes deadlines that are enforceable when they are setting the deadline, but if they owe you something back or whatever, the deadlines don't seem to matter anymore.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I can think of one client in particular that's due, $100,000, and so I can't make the IRS move any faster on it. And
Jeez. That would be frustrating.
Yeah, I'm mad when I'm waiting on just a regular refund.
Yeah, and he acknowledges, like, if I owed them that money.
Yep. They'd be at your house.
Screaming for it.
Yeah, they'd come to your house.
Oh, no, well, they would impose an interest penalty.
Right, and he should receive interest on this, but
No.
you never know. Even like all those employee retention tax credits that, there's still millions of them that haven't been paid. They're going to receive interest if they get paid.
What's the president talking about? Everybody's going to get $2,000.
That's from tariffs, I think.
That's tariffs. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I don't know what that will look like if it actually happens. I'd assume you could sort of go back to our COVID stimulus checks. It'd probably be something similar. If you're under a certain threshold, you may receive a check. They may be able to work it into the tax return that you get this deduction.
Mm-hmm.
If you're under a certain threshold, it's hard to say what will actually happen.
I think that's a tactic to pressure the Supreme Court.
that could
even though that the court
you're probably
the
right
court
about
can
that.
say, well, we follow the law, but I think he's putting the PR spin.
It is going to be interesting where you're doing returns this year for companies who really have been trying to manage tariffs, because it's been, I mean, we talked to a number of companies, and it's been a very challenging year for them on understanding the tariff and how to manage that impact and to make sure they're in compliance. And so I would think when you get to the end of the year, it's trying to figure out, did we do this right?
It's because the rates changed. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah.
One week we're tariffing China 25%. The next week it's 10, and then it's 50% the third week. And
fortunately, unfortunately, through COVID, people have learned to kind of restructure those agreements a little bit different so that, they have some ability to adjust pricing as costs go up or down.
I understood, but from, just trying to manage it and trying to get affirmation that we're doing this correctly. I mean, we can say, I don't know who provides that affirmation. I don't know if it's
Customs and Border.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's who does it. But because what you don't want to do is get penalized financially because you didn't complete a tax return correctly or what have you, because you and I don't know how in your world how you know if you got it right.
Yeah, a lot of times that's really on the clients unless they reach out for some help. And we work with kind of being here with Volvo and JLG and them bringing in a lot of their suppliers more locally. We work with a lot of them and see those challenges.
Mm-hmm. Do you work with a lot of international companies?
We do have a handful of them where several years ago sort of the model was that JLG and Volvo and Manitowoc, and they wanted a local presence from them and not to have it shipped overseas. And I'm working with some clients that we're purchasing overseas because that's where it made sense from a cost perspective, only to see some of those be turned around and having to find a new supplier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really it gets very complicated for sure.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned about tips and overtime. Is there anything else on the personal income tax side? Like, I used to itemize, but then I guess was this a finalizing, I guess, or making them permanent, Trump tax cuts from his first administration, correct?
It really was. If you think back, it's been several years now. You used to have personal exemptions, and you would either take a standardized deduction,
or you could itemize
or
it.
Itemized. And what
He got rid of that.
He got rid of the exemptions and basically doubled the
Right.
standard deduction. So I want to say 90% of Americans use the standard.
Took the standard,
deduction.
correct. That's what happened.
But the big difference is with the state and local tax deduction being maxed at 10, when you think about your real estate taxes, your Pennsylvania income tax, local income tax, a lot of people were well over $10,000 and they didn't get any benefit from it.
Right.
So now we're going to see some people that may be able to deduct $30,000 and $40,000 of taxes, and now they're going to start itemizing again, and that brings contributions in, and actually there's a deduction for people that use the standard deduction to still get some benefit from donating to charity. So that makes sense.
But the standard deductions didn't increase at all?
They get indexed every year for inflation, and actually with everything they kept in place and some of the additions they made this year, I think they're expecting the largest refunds this year compared to any years. And some of that's just with it being passed so late.
Yeah.
They never went back and changed any of the payroll tax tables. So maybe next year, depending on how large your refund is this year, you may want to go back and update your W-4 so that, I know everyone likes a refund, but a refund is really just a tax-free loan to the IRS all year.
Yeah.
So really trying to get closer to that break
So
even.
for those listening, individually, if you can be at zero, like
That's
I
better.
don't owe anything and I'm not owed anything, that's ideally where you want to be, correct?
Correct. We have, some people like that refund back, and that's sort of like
It's almost like a
like
savings
they're-
account.
it's-
It's a way for them to save.
Correct.
Yep.
correct. But really, the government had that money all year,
Right.
and so you
And I-
really don't want to be.
and I think-
Ideally, you want to owe them a little bit of money, so you don't pay any penalties or interest. But they didn't have any more than they needed all year.
Right.
Well, why? I think you and I have talked about this before. Why can't the system just be set up where you're paying a tax and there is no even concept of a refund unless there was an error or something? Like, you're paying exactly what you should be. It seems awfully expensive then to take that money and then turn around and process refunds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, most people have multiple sources of income, and unless we went to a flat tax,
Yeah, okay.
there really is no way to
You're an
do
advocate
that.
for a flat tax?
No, I think, I don't like the highest tax brackets.
Me neither.
But there is that ability there for people under a certain threshold to really pay no income tax or very little, especially if they're living just off of Social Security and different things like that.
So we talked a lot about the federal tax code. What about at the state level? Any changes in Pennsylvania we should be aware of?
Well, we're waiting to see when we pass a budget there.
Well, we got it
Got
now.
Yesterday.
As of yesterday, the governor signed the budget.
Okay, and I haven't quite seen that. For the most part, they don't follow. Pennsylvania's pretty unique in its tax structure. Most states work off the federal income number. Whatever your federal adjusted gross income is,
Right.
is your starting point on your state return. Pennsylvania says no, we're going to do it all differently. So the Pennsylvanians are going to pay tax on the tips and the overtime just as they normally would.
Imagine that.
You don't get any benefit from contributions.
So
and
see,
different things.
that's where the whole thing gets confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. So, because the conversation has really centered around the federal tax code and what's going on. But you're saying in Pennsylvania that doesn't exempt you from certain things at all.
Correct. And I talked about bonus depreciation.
Unless you're retired.
Right.
Yeah.
The bonus depreciation, Pennsylvania doesn't recognize bonus depreciation. So you may have large differences between your federal and your state income taxes for businesses.
See, it would seem to me that as, the principal of a major regional accounting firm, that you would like this structure that Pennsylvania has, because it forces people to come see you, because they don't understand it themselves.
You would think, but
But I think hopefully you say, well, we want to simplify, so.
we really do. I think Pennsylvania may be the only state that has its own separate local tax return. I'd really like to see that brought in. Maryland has a local tax, but it's all included in part of the state return. So instead, us accounting firms have to work with
3 forms. Yeah.
Well, there's
Yeah.
like 30. There's for each county there's a different tax collector,
Right.
and then you get weird with Shippensburg, where Shippensburg, regardless whether you live in Franklin or Cumberland County, you report to Cumberland County. So there's just a lot of unique things like that.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, I don't understand why. Has your Association of Accountants, have you advocated with the legislature to say, so you got to simplify this? Why can't we be like everybody else?
We do it every year. We're very active with.
What's the response? Why can't what? So when you meet with the legislators, what's the typical response as to why we do it differently than everybody else?
I'm not in those conversations, but I think most people just don't want to change anything.
Yeah.
There's still jobs associated with each of the
Right.
local.
I don't know if we would lose money if we did it a different way, lose tax revenues. I wouldn't think that we would.
No,
We're just collecting it differently.
correct.
So, but we still send it to Harrisburg, and then they could essentially send it back to the respective municipalities or wherever it's going to go.
Well, and the local tax code's different than the state tax code.
Yeah.
Your local, you only pay tax on your earned income.
Right.
So your investment income, your retirement income, that's not taxed at the local level. So really, again, because we differ from so many other states, we just sort of have this big broken system that
Okay.
it's just hard to change everything back to.
So here's what I'm going to say, Ben, because now that my head's going to explode, trying to understand all this stuff.
Take your taxes to a professional.
Take your tax- So your head, does your head ever get like where mine is right now? You're just like, man, this. So what do you do?
Yeah,
to,
April
So
14th.
what do you do to relax?
Do you play golf with your dad?
I do play golf with my dad. I'm not very good considering my dad's actually a golf professional.
Right.
That doesn't help. I do have 3
Did you
kids.
start playing when you were little?
Absolutely. And then I didn't want to play, when you're young and you play soccer and track and things like that.
You on the Waynesboro High School team?
I was.
Were you good?
I was the captain. It's not bad. I'm not saying the team was good.
What?
Was he good?
I don't know. I think I'm several years older than Ben.
Okay. All right. We're gonna assume that you were very good.
What
So
year did
that's-
you graduate? Sorry, not to put you.
2005.
Okay, yeah, I was out 10 years before.
Okay. No. But so you have three kids. So I know what you do with your time.
Yeah. And then,
How old are your kids?
I got 12, 11, and 8.
So you went through that period. It's active now, but
Yep.
it was really active.
Yeah, we have basketball tryouts this weekend, so it's.
Yeah, is it boys, all boys?
I got my oldest is a boy, and I got 2 girls. And
Okay,
that's
all right.
gonna be trouble.
And,
He's got 3. He's just
I had 3 girls, but no, that's great. That's great.
Are you in Waynesboro now, or are you?
No, I'm in actually Fayetteville, kind of
Oh,
back
okay.
behind the
Yep.
old mall,
Okay.
Nice.
which I'd love to see something happen to.
There
We're
we
working
go,
on-
there
We're
we
working
go.
on.
Yeah.
We're working on that. So anyway, so you have three kids, and you're running here, there, and everywhere. So that's but that's good, and you'll enjoy it, because pretty soon they won't be 12, 11, and 8. They'll be 22, 21, and 18.
That's scary.
So yeah, it is. It'll happen faster than you think, and you didn't space them enough to put them through college one at a time.
No, I did not.
We learned.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now I got to ask you: you a rock and roll guy or a sports guy? Or what more?
I love all music.
Okay. So you like country music? That's like a hint. You like country music or what?
I do.
All right. So who's your favorite performer?
Luke Combs.
All right. That's a country genre.
It is. Can you get closer to the mic, please?
I can't. Sorry. This is Mike on the mic.
Yes.
Who's not on the mic. So, but anyway, so what's so special about Luke?
Just
Just like his music, like his lyrics.
a little bit of everything.
All right.
I think he's just a really good guy, and I love his
A
music.
lot of the country performers are. I think they're generally, at least they come across as good people, and the kind of folks you want to hang around with.
Until they throw a chair off the top floor of a bar in Nashville.
No,
or
because I'm never I always like Black Sabbath music, like with Ozzy Osbourne, but I'm not sure I want to hang around with Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, you can't now.
No,
but-
I know you can't now, but anyway. So you a sports guy at all?
I am. I still call them the Washington Redskins.
Okay.
Been to 2 games this year. I've
Not going
1-1 this year.
Not quite as good this year as it was last year.
No, it's not very good. No, it's so bad they're going across.
Yeah.
Across the world for the next game.
So to that
Spain
point,
or
I'm an Eagles fan, and the Eagles seem to end up in the right division this year.
Yeah.
Because the Eagles have not played exceptional, but they're winning, not playing great, but nobody else in the division is.
I see the
So,
Giants just got rid of their guy.
Yeah, they did, and the Redskins have struggled, and the Cowboys have struggled, and so it's been it's the Eagles by default.
You
So-
see
so
who's
it's-
tied. You see who's tied for first in the NFC North.
I did see that the Bears.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, that won't last long.
Future Hall of Famer Caleb Williams. Shout out.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Let's let him play 3 years before we put him in the
You know,
Hall of
he
Fame.
says about your boy Jaden. He makes fun of him too. He says Bosco last year they were ready to give him the yellow jacket and the orange or the bust in Canton. No,
They were. They
well,
were.
That's my point. And now it's like I'm saying the same thing about Caleb Williams, and you're trying to backtrack.
Well, no, and I think both of those guys can be good, but you got to let them play a career. Okay, I heard that C.J. Stroud with Houston had redefined the position for a year. Then defensive coordinators figured out we know how to stop this guy, and is he a good quarterback? He's a good quarterback. Is he the greatest quarterback we've ever seen? Not.
Well, he wasn't playing Sunday either. Is he hurt?
I don't know. Probably.
And is your guy done? I would assume he's done for the year with that elbow.
I don't know why they'd bring him back this year.
Yeah,
No,
right.
there's no need to. And Marcus Mariota is he was good in college.
Yep.
He was really good in college, and his pro career has been probably average at best. I think.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the best backups in the NFL.
You can talk about this. We don't care about the county anymore.
Yeah. Do you think they're gonna? Here's a funny one for you. Do you think that the organization will name the new stadium after the current president, as he has suggested they should?
I would be shocked. I mean, they are going back to the RFK site, so
yeah.
I can see why he would think that. But originally he said that you weren't going to get a stadium unless you changed back to the Redskins, and that unfortunately, isn't going to happen.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah,
they're the Commanders now forever.
So
Like the
I think
Cleveland
this will
Indians or the
disappear. There
Guardians.
might be a Trump building somewhere on there.
Yeah.
There will
The
be.
Trump ballroom attached to the.
or the Trump
stadium.
skybox or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he'll be a part of it. But and it's interesting because he is, RFKJ in his cabinet it's all coming home for him.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. It's going to be
I
a
think-
big
I think-
investment in.
No,
the
I
city.
think yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So anyway, Ben, anything else we should know about? Because I want to thank you for coming in today. Hopefully, folks have learned. And again, I don't think any of us were fully aware how important it was to pass this big, beautiful bill and to codify the tax cuts that were in it. Because had we not done that, it was going to be really traumatic for all of us, really. And before, if I just one final question, just hit me, because there's a lot of conversation now about health insurance and the like, and how does what are your thoughts and how does that impact tax returns?
Well, those that are getting it through the marketplace, some of that is being funded through credits, and the tax return typically trues that up. If they got health insurance at a discounted rate because they reported their income was going to be low, and their income was much higher, they end up having to pay back some of that credit. And it does work the other way. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out with health care. I think Trump would like to see it go a little bit different direction instead of Obamacare, but we'll have to see. I mean, it's true that the cost of health insurance is
Well, I think
it's insane. I think most of our clients are seeing 15% or more increase in premiums, and just the cost of healthcare in general is so expensive that you're paying a lot.
But I would think in your world you got to be tracking that into 2026, because I would think that there is going to be congressional movement on a health care bill that will somehow affect our overall tax structure in doing especially corporate taxes and so on, but maybe individual taxes as well. And but I would think that's something that's got to be on everybody's radar in your world especially.
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to fund those, and taxes is generally their way to do it. So we'll have to see what happens.
So
Another reason he'll want to keep the tariffs.
it probably is. I agree with you. But again, I want to thank you for coming in, and for those listening, as I mentioned, we have a great relationship with Boyer and Ritter and your whole team, and we appreciate the work that you're doing, your investments in the community. And Boyer and Ritter, not only have they been a great financial. They've been our platinum sponsor for our industry appreciation dinner now for probably the last 5 or 6 years. But you're actively involved throughout not only Chambersburg but throughout communities across Franklin County. We appreciate that civic involvement. I think that's what makes our world go around. And again, we appreciate you taking the time to come in, and we wish you nothing but the best for Thanksgiving.
I appreciate that, and we appreciate what FCADC does for the community.
Thank you. So with that,
Yes.
Bosco, we're going to bring this to an end.
We are.
And so this concludes another edition of Mike on the Mic. And again, if you have suggestions for guests, we're open to that. If you're interested in sponsorship, we're interested in that as well. And in either case, we can be reached at 717-263-8282 or david@fcadc.com or mike@fcadc.com. And we're looking forward to our next edition. And with that, Ben, again, thank you.
All right, thanks. I have been getting some feedback. Many folks want to know if we're going to be doing our Festivus special
We will.
in
We will. In
December.
We
Yes,
will.
so.
Yep.
All right, with that, thank you, folks. Take care.
We're getting feedback from Jeb Keller.